Hey, how's it going, everyone? We're going to get this listening session started. A couple things I want to say. First, just as I said last time, this listening session is not about every single person getting their song screened. And I would really encourage everybody. I know that we got 167 songs in the queue. So if you posted something recently, it's probably not a good chance we're going to get to it today. But just keep in mind, this is a learning experience, an ongoing learning experience. We do this every week. It's going to be super helpful to just hear the feedback and kind of get a general feel for what it is that's working, what's not working. This is just my opinion in the industry. So just take anything that I say with a grain of salt. So yeah, that's about it. Anybody, the song queue is just a rolling over thing. And I'm going to start actually doing this today, where I'm just going to search for whoever's name is that's next up, just to make sure if they have multiple songs, I'll just play whichever one the most recent is. But please do not submit. If you can avoid it, please don't submit more than one song in the queue at a time. It really helps kind of clear things up, so we don't have to do as much work to get the songs actually going. So without further ado, we're just going to jump straight in and start listening to some cool tunes. First off, we got Dorothy Ann Dowenhauer. I apologize if I butchered your name there. This song is called Hope Changes Everything. Let's go ahead and share the screen. All right, here we go.
I still remember the first time that I heard your heartbeat. And in that moment, overwhelming joy came to me. I loved you so much, even before I knew your name. Anticipating, waiting for the day to see your face. Hope changes everything. Hope changes everything. You cause my heart to sing. You cause my heart to sing. Hope changes everything. You, the only one I know, the way, the truth, and the light. Hope changes everything.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this one, I really love the vocal, and the simplicity of the top line is really good. It gives enough space for, it's not too cluttered, it doesn't feel like to me. I really like the dynamic of the top line too, and the way that it picks up in the chorus. The hope changes everything. It really picks up into a nice level that's like a lot of times what you want is your chorus to just really kind of lift. So nice job there. I think that dynamic of the vocal needs to lift as well. So it's it is part of the dynamic of a successful track. So I like a lot about that. As far as the things that I would focus on with something like this production wise, I feel like the drums are a little out of the pocket. I found myself a little out of the groove a few times there. The lyrics, the lyrical aspect of the track makes it really hard to put in anything that isn't something like some type of TV type scene, because the lyrics are just so specifically romantic. Yeah, so that's like one piece of feedback there in terms of application to sync. And then the production just overall feels very rough. So yeah, it's just I feel like overall the level of the production needs to go up maybe a couple notches. But I really like the top line, especially the top line melody is my favorite thing about this. And I like the voice of the singer. So nice job. I dig it. Next up, give me just a sec here. Okay, cool, cool. Peter Bryn Jolfson is next. It's a final master. I work with studio pros out of LA. Okay, completely chose to. Sorry, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to scan through it to relay some of it. Okay. So it sounds like this is a situation where he hired like somebody to do the production as well as bring in the vocalists and all that stuff. Cool, cool, cool. Sounds great. So let me just pull this open and give you my 2 cents. Wait, this is okay, it's a YouTube link. Okay, let's hopefully this works. Let's see. Sorry, I'm a little confused because I guess this is a video for it. Let me pull open the page. Hang with me just a second. Here we go.
Cheer you on. We're gonna party all night long. You'll never walk alone in this jungle we call home. We'll be by your side time after time. When times get tough, number one, we'll be the Magnificos champions on the rise. Walk alone, we'll be the champions, forever champions.
Okay, so yeah, really, obviously the production on this is pretty good. It sounds well produced. The vocalist sounds like a killer session vocalist. Dig that as well. By the way, I'm just gonna mute everybody because I see that people are popping on the screen sometimes. All right, so cool. Actually, you know what? Unfortunately, I'm just gonna mute everybody. Just kind of permanently. If you have something that's like super urgent and I'm playing your song, just wave your hand or something like that. Raise your hand on the left side. I'll keep a eye out for that. But I just want to make sure we don't have any distractions because I want to try to get through as much stuff as I can. Yeah, I feel like it sounds well produced. Sounds like there's some really good session cats involved on this. I think the vocalist sounds like stellar, you know, great performance. The main issue I have with this for sync is like just the genre and the sound of it feels super dated to me. It feels like maybe something from the 80s or something like that in like I think it's going to be a tough thing to get placed because if people are looking for like kind of period music, they're going to more look for something that's actually from the 80s. This production feels like something that's like, yeah, it feels a little like it could be like straight out of the 80s. And then there's like I didn't really dig the distracting kind of crowd noise at the beginning of the song. Felt like that would be something that would be like an effect that if somebody were to place it, that they would want to be able to have control over how much that would be in the track or not. So you definitely want to, if you were pitching this to something, you would definitely, anytime you have like something that's like kind of could potentially make it difficult for somebody to use, you always want to have a version that doesn't have any kind of like effects or sound effects or things like that. So yeah, I dig the production on the track. As far as the writing and kind of the genre and the overall vibe of the track, it just feels like too dated to me to really like Catch the Moon wouldn't be able to pitch this. Just we don't get a lot of briefs looking for stuff that kind of sounds like this. So I think it's all going back like, and this is something I say time and time again, it's all going back to like, what are your modern current references, songs that have been produced in the last like 2 or 3 years, songs that have gotten placements in the last like 2 or 3 years, and then kind of like working from there, like building your tracks around like what you know is like there's a good market for. So that's my thoughts on that one. I really appreciate the time and effort that it took to put the track together, and it sounds like it's you had some really cool, some really talented musicians involved in it. But that's my thoughts on it in regards to like what, you know, its application in the sync world. Next up. Oh yeah, now that I'm getting the reminder, I gotta start copying and pasting these links so that if people want to check them out later, they can. I did not catch the first one, so if anybody wants to check the first one out again, I do not have the link for that anymore, but apologize for that. All right, cool. But thanks, Peter. Thanks for sharing that. Next up, we got, okay. I just have for the artist, for the student name Fish. Not sure who that is, but let's give it a spin. Unreleased master, no female harmonies. Okay. Final tweaks on vocals, production, and syncability. Okay, let's give it a spin. Unfortunately, this is a case where the link was not properly sent. So fortunately, we're going to have to pass on this one for now. It's always super important. This is just really good training for everybody. When you do get an opportunity to send a song to somebody, you know, I'm a gatekeeper to a certain extent with Catch the Moon. But like, you know, anybody that you send music out to the outside world, you got to make sure, you really got to make sure that you send a link that's, that people can just click and it opens up. It looks like you sent a link that was like a direct link to like a computer file on your computer. So it wouldn't open. Let's see. So next up we got Mona. Mona's next. This song is called Wild Card, and it's a mixed, not mastered track we wrote for sync. Wondering if it would fit in the CTM's catalog. All right, cool. Let's give it a listen. All right, here we go.
I won't close my mouth, my eyes, my heart. I'm a lady, but that's not all. Not on display, I'm not a doll. I am loud, boy, I'm a scandal. Don't fall in line, don't fit the mold. I am big and I am bold. I'm blowing hot, I'm blowing cold. I'm too much for you to handle.
Yeah. So there's a lot I love about this. I feel like a song like this. Hang on a sec. Let me just while I'm doing this, so I don't forget. I'm gonna copy and paste the link. I feel like a track like this, it's really a great example of like taking two styles of music and kind of it's like a genre fluid kind of thing. It feels a little bit of swagger, a little bit of like kind of Western vibe with it. This type of music, there's certainly a market for. I feel like. I feel like the build on it is really nice, especially like from like the vocal perspective is really good. The things that I feel like are kind of holding the song like this back a little bit. It feels a little. I almost felt like it was like, oh yeah, see, it's not mastered, so that would explain why it feels a little quiet. It did feel a little quiet. That was one of the first things I noticed. I did have to crank it up a little bit, but I think like also the you might not want to have it be as like quiet as it is. You might want to do the build a little faster, maybe. And then it's hard to hear the vocals sometimes. I was having a hard time making out some of the words in cases. I feel like there's some like vocal work that could be done here in terms of like sitting the vocals better in the pocket, or so in just like the entire track. And they're maybe a little bit too dry. And then I feel like just overall my impressions of the track is it feels a little unfinished. It feels like it could be much bigger than it is. Like the swagger of it could be amplified a little bit more. There could be more production elements to kind of like beef it up a little bit. I just feel like those are the things that I wouldn't want to sign it like right now, but I see that there certainly could be some potential for that if some more work was done on just kind of beefing up the song. It feels like I think if you compare this to stuff that's kind of similar to this, you'll kind of hear what I'm talking about. But I really do like the blend of styles. I feel like that's totally cool, and you definitely want to be doing this kind of stuff in your writing. It's super in right now. So I feel like the direction of this track was like it was a good decision, from the beginning. I feel like now it's like maybe there's a little bit more work that needs to be done in order to bring it across the finish line. But also, you feel free to take whatever I say and pitch it wherever you want. But just as far as like Catch the Moon's perspective, that's where I'm coming from. But I really dig I really dig the top line, how it builds, and I love like how it's mashing styles together, and I think it's for the most part working really well. So that's my thoughts on it. Next up. All right, I got that one down. Cool. All right, next up we got, give me just a sec. I just got to search to make sure they don't have any other tracks submitted. Oh, maybe. Nope. This is Gina Beliveau. Dropbox. Cool. Doesn't exist. This is what I'm talking about, everybody. This is like... This has to be, it absolutely has to be a link that somebody can just click through and play. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to play this song because, and they're going to unfortunately lose their place in line because the link wasn't a link that I could click and open. It said that the folder no longer existed. So unfortunately, we're gonna skip you, but we'll get you next time. Jesse Tom, song is called Wild Love. Is next. All right, let's get this going. Jesse Tom. Let me copy and paste this link. All right. Yeah, that's totally, Scott. That's exactly. Just send yourself a link or just send it. Here's one thing that I like to do is I'll just open the link in another browser. This is one thing that can happen sometimes is you might not realize you're sending a private link or a link that it might just be a private link. This happens with SoundCloud sometimes, but what you do is you go in and log into a browser that you don't use. Like I never use Safari on my desktop, but I just use Safari if I'm troubleshooting whether a link's working or not, because I'm not logged into, like, for example, like SoundCloud. So I know if I just like enter the URL into Safari and open it, if it doesn't open, then I know that like whoever I send it to, it's also not going to open. So yeah, that's it's just this is all stuff we're all learning, right? I'm sure I've sent stuff to people that hasn't been hasn't worked, and you know, who knows if that prevented me from getting a deal that I could have gotten. But I'm always really careful now about that kind of stuff. Here we go. This one's called Wild Love. I didn't see any notes with this, so I think it's just like general feedback. So here we go.
In the heart of her valley there's a road. He will bring the water, see how it grows. In the heart of his mountains lives a child. She will bring a love, grow wild, grow wild, love, grow wild, wild love, grow wild, love, grow wild, wild love, wild love, wild love, wild love, wild love, wild love. Will you grow with me a garden, wild love, wild love? Will you grow with me a garden, wild love? Wild love, grow wild love. Go with me to go.
Yeah, so I really dig the super intimate vibe of the vocal, especially like the female lead vocal is great. It's got a super like present thing that I think is really working right now in sync. I feel like overall the track has a cool vibe. I would think that something like this, as far as like, you know, I think there's certainly like a market for music that's this type of singer songwriter kind of stuff is with some. I feel like a song like this certainly could use some help on the production side a little bit. I think that like just my overall notes with this is like that felt like the background vocals were a hair too hot, and I feel like the depth of the reverb on the vocals, you could definitely layer your vocal reverbs a little more to kind of give like some depth to it. So one technique I like to use a lot is like I'll have like a slap reverb or like slap delay, then I'll have like, which is kind of gives like an immediate kind of live feel, and then I'll do like something like a plate reverb of some type, and then especially for tracks like this, I'm going to be playing around with like just throwing a certain amount of it into like either like a huge room kind of reverb or some type of cathedral kind of thing, to just kind of get a so that the vocals, since they're so important in a song like this and so exposed, that they really get a chance to like kind of shine and sheen over the entire production, and kind of have like a really nice kind of long tail to them. What was happening a lot of times too, I could hear just the way that the vocal was recorded. There's a lot of noise floor on it, so it was really noticeable early on in the song when the vocal was coming in and coming out, because literally you could hear like the hiss of the just the analog equipment or whatever gear you were recording the vocals with. And so yeah, you know, I think maybe you could tighten up your vocal chain and your vocal production a little better. Might help as well with kind of easing in and out, or you could just leave the noise floor in and kind of find some way to address it and kind of blend it into the track. So yeah, I think that those are the main things. And then also because there's like kind of this cool ethereal kind of mysterious vibe about the whole thing, I think you could really maybe play around a little bit more with like in future. It looks like this was already released and everything like that, but just in your future stuff to just like not be afraid to really like filter out drums, like, but do what you can to like make them sound a little less like you're in the room, more like kind of fit with the vibe of it versus like an authentic representation of the performance of the instrument, if that makes sense. Have the instruments more serve the overall vibe of the song than kind of their parts and sounding authentically like the instruments. I feel like if they were kind of sitting a little better in the mix together, some of this could just be a mix thing too. I mean, some of this is like, it's a mixed choice whether you apply certain types of effects, and just kind of the way in which the entire mix is kind of situated. Now that I'm talking about it, I think some of it has to do with the production of it, but some of it also just has to do with how you chose to mix a track like this with everything kind of super present. Like some of the things could have been like a little more like in the back, and maybe a little less up front. Maybe some different choices could have been made in terms of the mix with that. But I think those are the main things. It's like the noise floor on the vocal was distracting in parts, and like just overall, like the vocal could have had like kind of like a little more magic to it for me. And then just like, but I really dig like the intimate vocal. I dig the vibe of the track overall. I feel it's cool. I really also feel like the marketing of it, like, look at that album cover. That album cover is freaking crazy. It's so good. So you're doing a lot of things right, and just keep dialing it in. I think, and you'll be, there are, I mean, I don't know names off the top of my head of like artists that do similar stuff to like this, but it's going to be very easy for you to just go on Spotify and dig up some like modern singer-songwriter playlists and start to kind of hear what I'm talking about in terms of like finding maybe a little bit different production angle on this kind of stuff. And I think you'll probably find more success in the future with it. But I dig the track. It's cool, you know? Yeah. Nice job. Let's see. I copied that over. Rad. Let's keep going. All right. Next up, we got, who's next? We got, this is Wani Rodriguez. Final but master. Hang on a sec. This song I think I might skip because this is a song that I think we actually we're taking this song on. So nice job first. We're taking this song on, so they're just like fixing a couple of things. So we're gonna skip that one for now. And I think this song's already been screened before, but I'll drop it. I'll drop the link in anyways if people want to check it out. It's Wani, W-A-N-N-I-E. I'll type the name in. Wani Rodriguez. There you go. So next up, we got, okay, Mark Stone. Okay, toss out my previous submission. Will do. Let's make sure he doesn't have any other ones in here. Mark Stone. That's so hard to type sometimes with this microphone being here. All right, cool. Got it. All right, so let's see. Wondering if you think this could work for sync. Could it work with some polishing, just voice and acoustic? Okay. All right, this is just the top line, but it turned out kind of cool. It's a work in progress. All right, let's check it out. This song is called Your Hero. Here we go. Great. And you see how I like the marketing here. You got like some album artwork, got some lyrics here. This is a nice presentation. Let's give it a play.
There's nothing I wouldn't do. It's like a shot of kryptonite straight through my heart, hopelessly loving you. I wanna fly you away to a fortress built for two. Live the fantasy and the kind of things I only wish you knew. I can be the Superman that makes your dreams come true. When your love gets thrown away, let me be the arms you fall into. I could be your life, to be in love more and more each day for the rest of your life. Never leave you lonely, where the world will be by your side. Take my hand, I'll show you how our love can grow. Let me be your hero. I could be your hero. To be your love more and more each day for the rest of your life. Never leave the arms you fall in. I can be your hero. I can show you what it's like to be your love more and more each day for the rest of your life.
Cool, man. So here's my thoughts. I love the tone of your voice. That was the first thing that popped out to me. It's just really authentic Southern kind of voice. I feel like with the right types of songs, like your vocal could be really cool on a lot of stuff, especially like just with all the genre fluid stuff that's happening right now. I'm sure there's a way to take your vocal talents into potentially like other hybrid genres and do something cool. Anytime somebody has a uniqueness to their voice, it's always something that like intrigues me, just because you never know like if it's recontextualized what could come of it. I mean, it's part of like one of the greatest joys that I have every day that I produce and write music. I'm always like kind of on the lookout for like what's the next thing that I could figure out some way to recontextualize, or it's just part of like the cool creative landscape we're in right now. As far as I like some of the vocal arrangements on this were cool too. I feel like as a song, it's certainly got like I feel like the lyrics really need help. I feel like the lyrics, there's a lot of stuff that's like kind of on the cliche side of things, like the kryptonite and like the let me be your hero. I feel like honestly that the way in which it's being conveyed, I feel like I've heard it like on most of the lines, I've heard it like 100 times before. And what this ends up doing is like it really kind of lessens the emotional impact of what it is you're trying to convey. I'm not saying this in any kind of harsh way or anything like that or critical way. It's just the truth. I mean, I've gone to panels and seen people talk about this, and it's true. It's like if you've heard it a million times before, it's just not going to have the same. It's not going to have the same impact. It's why every single song doesn't have the words "I love you" in it. You know, it's like because I love you is like one of the most powerful things you could say to another human being in the right context and the right thing. But it's just in the musical world, we've just heard it so many times before that nobody writes that lyric really anymore. I mean, and if they do, it's like it's in like a key moment, or it's like recontextualized in some kind of way, or it's in like a larger like overall statement. So I think like in the future, for a track like this, I think a rewrite would probably be appropriate with like just a really strong lyricist would probably be a good potential alliance that you could make. Potential like collab situation. You could take a song like this into a co-write situation with somebody who one of their main strengths is like lyrics and top line stuff. And I think you could maybe recontextualize the song a little bit. And then I think like I think about like some of the folk. I went to Winnipeg Folk Festival last year, and it was really cool. There were a couple. I can't remember the name of the artist. There was this artist where there was like 4 guys, and they all stood around a microphone. And there was parts of this song where I'm like, oh yeah, this could totally have like almost like a barbershop quartet. Like you could have like, yeah, like an old timey kind of vibe with it, with like 4 different singers kind of singing in harmony. You could the melodies and kind of like some of the concepts of this song, you could easily recontextualize in less of like a kind of straight ahead folky country kind of thing, which I feel like there's not as much. I don't really see a lot of briefs for this type of music, but I feel like there's definitely like some flavors, westernized kind of flavors of folk and Americana, like modern folk Americana, where something like this style wise could work, especially with your voice. So I would just play with your strengths, you know, like you got a cool voice and maybe ally yourself with somebody who's one of their strengths is like the lyrics, because I feel like I like a lot of the like melody concepts on this are cool. Some of the arrangement ideas are cool with the vocal harmonies and stuff. Obviously it's super rough demo, not well executed, but it's like it's a work tape more or less. So totally understand where you're coming from there. Yeah, so I think that's my feedback on it. And I think that I wish you well and hope you wherever you go next with this one, I hope it turns out the way you want it to. Because I think it's every single person who brings a song to this, I'm just always floored by your talents, the different talents that people bring to the table. It's like, oh, that voice, what a cool voice, Cool, authentic, kind of Southern voice. Wani's song name was what was it, like You're Not Alone or something like that. I'm gonna send the link out to everybody, so don't worry about it. All right, so we're gonna keep going here. Next up we got Jorena. Here we go. Sorry, hopefully I didn't butcher your name. Unfinished production seeking a real producer. Are stems good enough to give to a producer mixer? Okay, cool. Let's give it a listen. I'm gonna mute that for a second. Let's share the screen. Sweet. All right, here we go. Sorry, I got a little peanut butter in my. Oh, all right, there we go. So I really like the quirkiness of this. There's like a quirky vibe to the whole thing that I really dig. There's kind of like a flippant kind of vibe to it too. It's like, but then the thing that's interesting to me is that it's like there's the vocal is sometimes super intense over the top of it. There's some interesting juxtapositions with it production wise, as well as just kind of like the relationship between the top line and like the track. I feel like most of these elements are like good for like a scratch track. I'm not sure like quality wise whether these are tracks that would make it onto like a finished product. I did like the drum groove a lot. I think the drum groove is cool. Maybe that's something that they can play with. That vibrato on your vocal, holy, that's great. I would almost like play around with that even more. Like I think vibrato is like a thing where it's like if there's like just a little bit of it, it can sound pretty dated. So I think like the way in which you're singing this sounds a little like throwback, like 70s folk singer kind of vibe almost, like traditional folk classic sing vocal over the top of it. You could probably even be a little more experimental and just like really, I'm curious like how far you could go with your vibrato, whether you could make that like a really cool kind of like vocal, you could almost like play around with as like a vocal, something you can cut around and like use different like cool, you could like cut the vocal, stretch it, slow it down, reverse it, come up with some really cool, like, because that's obviously like something, there's something in the way that your vibrato works that's seems a little special to me. So I would probably play around with that a little bit, or just try taking like most of the vibrato out of your vocal performance, and see what that sounds like. It might sound a little more like edgy modern. I feel like as far as like breathe, it's like, I think that a track like this needs to breathe. If the song is breathe, it's like it needs to, like the track itself needs to kind of breathe a little more. I feel like it kind of goes a little like the same pace. I'm always like thinking about like when I'm listening to a song, like how the track kind of aligns with the vocal, aligns with it. And I had somebody give me some really good feedback a couple years back just about like how it's really important to whatever your song is about, you want your track to kind of sound like it, and you want your vocal delivery to kind of be the message of the song. So if you're singing a song that's like, you know, I'm having a great day, I'm having a great day, you know, if it's all about like having a good day, vocalist has to sound like they're having a great day, and the track needs to sound like I'm having a good day, like the whole track needs to feel like it's like I'm having an awesome day. Like the track can't just kind of be like, you know, kind of moseying along and then I'm having a great day, because that sounds like you're kind of having an okay day, you know? So in a way, it's like what I'm saying with this is that in the demo, I'm feeling that there's like a little bit of maybe even also disconnect between like the lyrics and like kind of the musical aspect of it, a little bit. And I just wish it felt like it was a little more like that those two things were a little more aligned with each other. And I didn't really get a chance to give a close listen to the lyrics on this. It's hard to like in one listen through to like really analyze everything. But you know, my general impressions were that like there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And yeah, some of this can come down to the production of it, but some of it also has to come down to like the songwriting of it. I think if you rearranged a song like this, perhaps on like even like a slow kind of piano, I would just play around with different types of instruments, maybe the uke's not the best for something like this. Maybe it is. And you just need to adjust your singing style a little bit to kind of fit the pocket of what you've created here. Or tweak a lyric or something like that. So that's my thoughts on this one. I think it's a good start to something. Just a word out to everybody. She's looking for a producer, and she was looking for somebody cool to collab with. So keep that in mind. I'm going to post this so you can, for all you producers out there that might want to work with her, you can find her song. So here we go. Thanks for sharing that. All right. We're doing pretty good. I feel like we're halfway through the program. We've gotten through like 8 songs. Not shabby. I feel like we're a little ahead of where we were last week. Let's just keep going here. Next up, we got Caroline Hill Moore. Just make sure you don't have any other Caroline Hill. Looks like you sent 2 songs, so let's see what the second one is. Last link I sent for this song was, what does this say? Not correct. Okay, cool. Great way to catch yourself. Awesome. So we'll just go ahead and delete that, and then we'll open up this one. Awesome. This is unfinished, unreleased final master to see if this girls' night out theme and music is right for sync. Okay, cool. It looks like it was produced in 2016. Let's give it a spin. Song's called Hey Girls. Here we go. Oh.
Hey girls, let's go! Hey, everybody, it's girls' night out. Hey, everybody, it's girls' night out. We're gonna turn this town upside down and just for fun turn it inside out. Cause it's girls, 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 girls night out. Well, we painted our nails and we fixed our hair. We look so hot that all the boys will stop and stare. Oh, we put on our heels and our party dress. We're riding into town like it's the Wild Wild West. Tomorrow morning there will be no doubt. Last night surely was girls' night out. Hey, 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 everybody, it's girls' night out. Bars. They roll the red carpet out like we were movie stars. Well, early next time it's girls' night out. Hey, 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 everybody, it's girls' night out. Hey, hey. Girls, 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 girls' night out. Yeah! Girls, 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 girls' night out.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm just trying to sneak in like a snack here. I haven't eaten anything since like very early this morning. So, all right. So, track like this, I feel like it's well recorded. It sounds like you got like some slick session cats on this thing. It sounds like it's well produced. I feel like for kind of like country kind of bar music almost. It sounds like it's kind of authentic bar, like country bar kind of music. Which could be cool for like the right type of scene. I think the thing that's fallen a little flat for me is just like kind of the approach with the vocals on this. And the vocals are just so important when it comes to like pretty much anything, whether it's an artist project or it's a sync thing. I just think it's just so critical that the vocals kind of hit the notes that they need to hit. And not like necessarily like even pitch stuff. Although I did notice that there's like a lot of pitchiness in the vocal in the lead. As far as like the things that we're looking for in terms of like fitting and gluing well with the track and kind of giving off the vibe that we want the track to have and the energy. I feel like the track could have had a little more swagger to it. Just I guess like a production side of things, it felt a little, as well performed as it is, it does feel a hair like kind of paint by the numbers. But I feel so there could have been some, maybe that's like 3 years of it being like produced 3 years ago that maybe things have kind of livened up a little bit with that type of music. I'm not an expert in that type of music, but I feel like a song like this about girls' night out feels like it needs to have like kind of like a feeling of like a group vibe. If it's just one person singing it, it feels like I feel like there's maybe a missed opportunity there. You'd want to have like some cool kind of gangs on something like this, I would think. Just because if it's like an anthem kind of rallying cry, let's all have a good time, and you're doing it with your girls, like, there's got to be like a group of girls, to me, like on the vocally. And then I guess I was thinking too, it's like the attitude of the vocal. I feel like the attitude of the vocal is like 80% there, but it feels like there's a certain amount of holding back and being wild and being crazy and being carefree that is not getting into the vocal performance with this. So it feels like to me, like it's, as far as like the attitude of the singer and just the way in which it's being belted out, it feels like it's just kind of being held back just a little bit. And I feel like it's kind of like making it not work as well as it could. And then just like, I think the other thing I think about is like what kind of show would use a song like this. I'm sure there are some shows that are kind of set in places where, country music and a bar kind of situations where a song like this could work. I just think it boils down to like more than anything for me is like maybe a slight, if you were to do a song like this now, maybe like a slight modernization of the enlivening up of the overall instrumental track. As talented as all this was, you can tell there's a lot of talent involved in this, and then just like having the right vocal just getting the vocals dialed in a little better on this one, so that it really reflects the energy and the fun and like the craziness. I don't really hear the craziness so much in this song. It's like girls' night out. It's like you get a little crazy, get a little wild. It feels a little like it's holding back just a little bit too much. So that's my thoughts on things. but yeah, you know, cool vibe with the track. And I feel like this type of music, there's certainly like a place for this kind of stuff in like, especially like bar scenes and stuff like that, or like just like a night out in the town. If it's like an appropriate situation for like country music, country type music to be used. Next up, let's go ahead and thanks for sharing that, by the way. Let's go ahead and copy this so that people can check it out later. Boop. Boom. Here we go. All right, cool. And then next up, we got up next. We got Michael Averill is up next, and Catherine Lynn Nemeth. Unreleased, unfinished production. Looking for feedback and impressions, production tips and suggestions, please. Love to provide them. Michael's a great writer. He's good. We already signed one of his songs. Home at home. Actually, the guy who had the country voice earlier, I can't remember your name off the top of my head. Was it Mark? You should try to hook up with Michael. I think that some of the production stuff that Michael does, your voice would sound really cool on. Potentially. All right. So this song is called "They Don't Know They're a Hero." And let's go ahead and pull it open.
A hero knows what to do when everything falls apart. A good hero stands by you and helps mend your broken heart. A hero loves to lend a hand when you're chasing down your dreams. Hero shows up every day like an indestructible machine. But they don't know they're a hero. A hero knows what to say when you can't find the words. A hero will help lead the way when you're feeling unsure. They don't know they're a hero. They don't know they're a hero. A hero proves impossible can be done. They're in the battles you thought couldn't be won. They don't know they're a hero. Proves impossible can be done. They're in the battles you thought couldn't be won. Hero. They don't know they're a hero. They don't know they're a hero.
There's aspects of this I really dig a lot. There's so many different ways you could take this production wise. I feel like it just depends on what direction you want to take. Honestly, there's a quirky vibe to the whole thing in the very beginning. I mean, you could maybe listen to a bunch of Beck and see if you can draw some inspiration from that. Like maybe make it like less of a folky kind of thing and make it more of like some type of a, spoon. Yeah, totally. I feel like it needs like some kind of indie kind of vibe to it. I feel like that's what it needs more than anything. Like something like this kind of needs like, it needs to be cool. Like I feel like the hero thing, this angle on it, it could be really cheesy if you went the wrong way about it. I feel like if you cool up the production a bit, I think it's gonna like force you to kind of phrase things a little differently with the way it's sung, and it's going to feel a little less kind of singer-songwritery. I'm not a huge fan of like they don't know they're a hero. I just think about like what the context of that's going to look like on the screen, like what scene would that be used in, and I'm having a hard time off the top of my head thinking about like when that particular angle on being a hero would be used. But yeah, potentially like, yeah, positive kids message. Yeah, they don't know they're a hero. I mean, I guess you could just go like, you could go straight up like happy go lucky with it. That's the other direction you could go with something like this. You could go like straight up as like happy go lucky. The whistle could kind of play into that, playful, like make it almost like a kid's song or something like that. Sing it in a way that's not soulful or like serious at all, but more like a playful kind of vibe. And then you could even like, if you went that direction, you'd open up like a whole like chest of different things you could play around with. You play with like a marimba or like ding ding. You could play between like playful instruments, like, you know, like a whistle and like something that's like a plucky kind of thing, like a organic kind of plucky stuff. But I don't think that's all. You could also blend that with like everything. I think it's great right now is like you can mix everything together right now. You could take kind of like a more youthful, kind of childish kind of approach, less like serious, more playful kind of vibe with the vocal delivery, and then mix that with like kind of like a more indie kind of production versus like singer-songwriter type production. And because I think that whistle's like really cool. And there's just the way you're even singing like Hero that first time around, I was like, oh, it's a little weird, but it almost sounds like you're mispronouncing the word a little bit, but it was actually really cool. So like these are things like too where you can just feel free to like to just play around with like the length of words and how long they're held out. It's a great thing about like showing a work tape like this. There's so many possibilities. I like how weird like some of the stuff in the beginning kind of feels. It feels a little quirky. And yeah, I think that's about it. That's about all the feedback I got. I mean, I think melodically there's some really good ideas there. And I would maybe play around with like just kind of your catchphrase with it though. Like they don't know they're a hero. Maybe there's a different take on that might be easier to, I don't know. That was the thing that immediately leapt out to me lyrically. I kind of wished it was a little more satisfying to me, but that's just me, you know. Somebody else might love it, and in that case, don't change it at all. Really always dig your stuff, man. Dig your approach. He's a cool dude. And Catherine, I'm sure, is really cool. I've never met Catherine, but I'm sure she's really rad too. Don't you know you're a hero? Yeah, just like come up with some different do a brainstorm on that. I bet if you did a brainstorm on that with your writing partner, I'm sure you can come up with 5 other concepts that you might like better than that concept. Something that's a little more I think when you decide your production style too, I think it's going to help you decide like your ultimate production style with this is like actually what the song lyrics are there. All right, cool, man. Let's see, we're cruising along. Next up we got, where is, all right, cool. Okay, cool. We got Dave Teely here. Unreleased test mix. Song quality, production, syncability. Great. Let's check it out. Song's called Starlight. Oh, cool. Lauren Light. She's really talented. David is too. Not discounting you in any way. All right, let's give it a listen.
Starlight, you're so bright, dancing over you, can't get over your starlight. You're so bright, you light up the night. Feels like I wanna high through the midnight, taking my dreams and bringing them to life. What's it look like? All of those wishes like glitter, lost in a beautiful shimmer, hoping one day to shoot across the sky. Starlight, starlight, you're so bright, dancing over you, can't get over you. Starlight, you're so bright, you light up the night. Starlight, you realize the power within is all I'll ever need. Starlight, starlight, starlight.
Yeah, I really dig this a lot. This isn't a test mix. Okay, so it's unreleased. I feel like there's so much that's working well with this track. I feel like you're really onto something here. I feel like some of the lyrics are really great, and Lauren's a really good. She's a really good lyricist. Sure you are too, David. And I think this is your production. I think you did a really nice job for the most part. I feel like it's the track has like it feels super modern, but it also that feels like there's like this kind of magic to it. It's like a vibe that you're creating. When I'm talking about vibe is like probably the most important thing. It's probably more important than even like the context or the message of the song. Even though the message of the song should be kind of in alignment with the vibe is even more important than like what's actually being the substance of it. And I feel like to a certain extent, like this track is really succeeding in like creating like a cool kind of starry, like without being cheesy. Like the thing that I think is working about a track like this is I feel like it's like really, it's at the edge of where if it went any further, it could be like, it could sound cheesy, like kind of cheesy, like outer space kind of thing. But I feel like it's restrained enough in good production and in the hooks and not trying to be too cute or too clever. I feel like it's working really well for the most part. I think like a track like this, some like really obvious ads for me would be to put some like really fun ad libs in parts, like just playful stuff. That's like, you know, I'm sure you two can come up with some stuff, but it's just like, I felt like there were some empty spaces there. That you could definitely just give it a little, as far as the vocal goes, maybe a little bit more like playfulness. I feel like the vocal has like, it's got a playful vibe to it, but then also it's got, she has a real gravity to her voice, which I really like. It's part of what kind of like helps ground this track a little bit and helps it work. But yeah, you know, I would play around with like, just do some passes of like cool ad lib stuff. Maybe even some like gang shots. Hey, some haze, some like things to kind of fill in the blanks, kind of have like hard filtered and way in the background, like wash them out or like hard auto tune them and stuff. I love when I'm working on pop tracks. I love doing this kind of stuff because it's just part of the toolkit that the modern pop producer uses. But yeah, and I think just as far as like the mix goes, it feels like there's a couple points where the mix feels a little too busy, maybe a little trying to think of the right word for it. Sometimes it's not so easy to describe like what's off with a mix, at least in my opinion, but it's like I think it's like there's like a lack of, maybe it could be a little more focused, like a little less it feels like there's a couple parts where I was listening and I was thinking it could be a little, you could maybe be a little bit more, you could maybe like focus things a little bit more instead of having everything. I feel like there were a couple times where like things were kind of playing a little over everything else. And some things were kind of competing for space in the mix. So maybe you could swipe some of the clutter away. You can use like mid-side EQ to kind of rid yourself of some of this stuff. Sometimes it's like, it's just like figuring out like the right pockets and the right levels for different things so that it feels like really like a tight, kind of concise, punchy kind of mix. I feel like in parts you could use a little more focus, but I feel like you're really onto something here. I think it's a great start to something. And, you know, I think you're it feels like just a couple things away from having something that would be totally syncable. I think you could pitch this for stuff for sure. Yeah, who knows, maybe kids stuff even. Depends on how playful the over the top kind of stuff is. I think it's a great job, you know, but you could also use this as just like it's just a pop song, you know. Anywhere they're looking for a pop song that has like kind of some reference to outer space or things like that, this would be a good option that doesn't sound totally cheesy, you know. Like anytime you're thinking about like there's so many times where like, you know, you'd love to use a song, but it goes a little too over the top. I feel like this kind of stays grounded in what's working in the modern pop landscape. So, you know, tip my hat to you. Nice job. And keep it up, you know. David's a good producer. Anybody who's looking for a producer. Yeah. I'll copy the song so you can all reach out to him, find him on Facebook and stuff. It should be pretty easy. By the way, if anybody is in like another group or something like that and you want to collab with somebody, it should be pretty easy to find them if you have their name. Most everybody's on Facebook. All right. So next up, all right, we got about 20 minutes of power here. Let's keep going. Are you all having a good time so far? How's this working out so far? Let me see some love in the chat if you dig it. All right, good. All right, great. I'm getting my standing desk on Saturday, so I'm actually a little bit in a grumpy mood right now because my back is just killing me. I've just been sitting down so much recently. I'm going to have this thing. I'm actually like probably next time we're on a call, I'll probably be standing up and I'll be on like I've got like some kind of balance board thing. Hopefully there's not like some kind of embarrassing YouTube clip where I fell off the board mid call. I'm not going to hex myself. I'm just pretend I didn't say that. So, let's keep going though. All right. Stephen Lucetti. Let me just check and make sure you don't have anything else submitted. Once again, if you do have a song that's, Lucetti, I think it actually is. If you have a song submitted, please don't submit a song a second time. So you have 2 songs in the queue here. I'm just going to play the most recent one. So here we go. All right. Here we go. Thoughts on Fit for Trailers, TV, video games. Unreleased artist track mastered. Cool. By the way, the notes that people, it's actually David Thiele. I had a friend of mine who had the exact same last name, but she pronounced her last name differently. It's David Thiele. Yeah. And the spelling's right there. Yeah. So this is Stephen Michael. How long? Let's give it a spin. Thoughts on Fit for Trailers. What was that again? Thoughts on Fit for Trailers, TV, video games. Cool. Oh, here, let me share it with you. Boom. There we go.
Till they are light in your grave, laying you down in the bed that you made. How long? How long? How long till the end of your days? They come around and your debt is repaid. How long? How long? Yeah. Sooner or later they'll be coming for you. Sooner or later you'll be paying your dues. Sooner or later they're coming for you.
Yeah. So, I got a few things to say about this one. I really dig there's once again, I think this is like, it's starting to come across to people. And I think people are really getting it that like, we really have a lot of freedom now to create, just mishmashes of different genres. And I feel like this is an interesting example of taking like kind of a style that I didn't really think would work too well together and kind of surprising me a little bit with it. It kind of takes this like kind of almost Western kind of industrial kind of feel, and then it kind of transitions into almost like a jazzy kind of smooth jazzy kind of thing. It's interesting. Like, I'm not sure if it works 100% to me, but I feel like the thing is, it feels like it's kind of an empty canvas still in terms of like the production of it. I feel like the vocal effects could be the first off. I just feel like the vocal delivery feels a little. It feels a little perhaps too laid back in parts. Um, and maybe it could be like it could be more intense and it could be dirtier, like just effects wise, just a little grittier. But then there's this thing too with it. It's got like this kind of smooth kind of slickness to it overall. So who's to say that you definitely have to change up the production a little bit to have that work. Um, I think these kinds of situations are really interesting to talk about because at the end of the day, they're like creative decisions, and how to best make a song like this is like it's a tough thing to even answer. Because like you could do a bunch of stuff too to build upon what you already have here too, which is like, I will say that like it feels like it's building up to some intensity, and then when it does come down to the chorus, it kind of feels like kind of a letdown a little bit. And I think you could transition that into like it being just more like a cool kind of, there's like kind of this cool smooth thing that comes in, but it feels like it does kind of go down dynamically. So people like to kind of be taken somewhere and then taken somewhere big and then come back down. But this song might not necessarily fit that template. Doesn't necessarily have to, but I think that like I'm just trying to think of like what would be a cool way to like, I mean, a song like this, I think when I'm thinking about like what I would do production wise, for something like this, it would be like, maybe even introducing like real jazz instruments. Like imagine like that. There's like some kind of synthy kind of thing that you're playing. Imagine if that was like replaced with like a real sax player or something like that. You could bring some more like authentic kind of jazz stuff into this, and it might make more sense just as a whole. As far as like for like pitching for like trailers, because I know that's what you were asking about. By the way, I apologize. I gave you a bunch of feedback I guess you didn't even ask for. So my bad there. But I would say like as far as but I feel like this is related. I feel like because like the music that they're looking for like trailers and video games is doing exactly what I was describing there. It's like they're looking for big moments. This is way too laid back to be used in a trailer. It feels like to me, at least like trailerized kind of stuff. I would think something like this might be like TV scene type music. I don't feel like it ever builds up enough in intensity for video games either. Most video game trailers are like super intense, and they have huge moments. And this track doesn't really get to that place. It never builds up to like, it kind of starts to build up and get somewhere, and then it doesn't really hit you with anything. So I feel like it just kind of takes you in like almost an alternate direction, not dimension. It takes you in a different direction that could be really cool, but maybe the execution of it could be a little, I don't even know what to describe. The execution could possibly be a little better, just in terms of like, we're just building up the production a little more and maybe making some decisions with the vocal in terms of like making it work a little better with what you have here in terms of the track. Maybe redo the top line. I'm not sure. Just the top line vocal. And then was there any other notes I had? I think that's about it. I mean, I like the willingness to try something different here. I really think that there could be some gold to be found here in terms of this direction. Could end up with like a really cool. You could create your own subgenre, with this kind of industrial jazz kind of thing. I think it's cool. I'd keep playing around with it. All right. I think we got time here for at least a couple more. So let's see if we can get a couple more in. Thanks for sharing that, man. Stephen Lucchetti. I think that's how you pronounce it. And don't worry, as always, with the exception of the very first person I played today, I think her name was Donna. I totally forgot to copy her information down, but everybody else, I'll just I'll post this as the replay. Ah, cool. Of course, my pleasure, man. All right, so what is next? Next up, we got Josh Bien. Unreleased final master. General feedback. What makes it better? The song is mostly done, but doesn't mean we couldn't fix things to make it more pitchable, or just learn and grow for next time with feedback. Awesome. That sounds good. Let's check it out. Dig the I really dig. Oh, actually, I've listened to this song before. It's okay. I'll listen to it again and I'll give feedback live. This was submitted as an assignment. Let's give it a listen. See Me Rule.
I was lost and alone, couldn't breathe, suffocating on my own. I fell down, there I crawled on my knees, had to find my way back home, and I won't take the blame. They'll come to know my name. I won't succumb to pain, and I will take the rain. Can you see me? Do you see me? I'm no longer a frightened little girl. Have you seen me? Time you've seen me. I have come to rise up and rule my world. And I want my name. I won't succumb to pain. And I have taken my reign. And I won't take the blame. For they'll come to know my name. I won't succumb to pain. And I have taken my reign. Can you see me? Do you see me? I'm no longer a frightened little girl. Tonight, can you see me? Tonight, do you see me? I'm no longer a frightened little girl. Have you seen me? Time.
Yeah, so I dig. It's an Eilish type, super close, intimate vocal here. Yeah, I feel like the main feedback that I remember, at least I remember giving on this, was there's a lot of there's a lot going on with the vocal a lot of the time, and sometimes it's like it's not tight enough. Like I feel like the way the vocals are kind of tracked and blended, they're kind of flamming with the performances are flamming in a way that's not really like making it more, you know? I feel like, especially like I'm noticing like end consonants that are kind of flamming with each other. And that's like, we don't really want that, because it kind of sounds a little like it's not edited well, which is, I don't think that's your intention with this at all. And I think it's cool, like some of the arrangement ideas that you have in terms of like being willing to play around with the stereo space and placing the vocals in different places and stuff. I felt like in the very beginning, I did notice this. I listened through headphones, and I don't think I noticed this when I was listening through it through my monitors. But I did notice that like right off the bat that there was like kind of an imbalance in like a doubled vocal. Like one side felt like it was a little louder than the other, and then it kind of shifted like pretty quickly to like something that was more balanced. So you might want to check that in the mix, maybe balance that out a little better. I feel like, yeah, just that the vocal flamming isn't helping matters. I feel like a track like this, it kind of goes at the same pace once it gets going. I feel like there could be like a little bit more work on like just kind of like starty stoppy kind of stuff. You have opportunities to create more space, I think, in the track and the arrangement. And when the vocals are in, they're just like really over the top of everything. So maybe there's a little bit of a mix thing too, and just continuing to develop. Like this track sounds like it's pretty much done, but I think in the future you can just continue to like develop your production behind the vocal, so that there's like a little more play between. It feels like right now that there's like a vocal that's on top of a track, and as opposed to a vocal that is perfectly placed inside production that was built around the vocal top line. Is kind of what I think, like that's like one of the things that I'm hearing too, which I'm not even sure if I gave you that feedback before, but yeah, so that's what I hear there. In terms of like, I also wanted to just make a note of this too. It's important. Like I just feel like I've done a fair number of like female empowerment types tracks, and it usually doesn't really add much to add like a male vocal to it. I don't know. I think you could probably go without putting a male vocal on that, especially since it's such an exposed, vulnerable track about like, being seen and being heard and all that stuff. I feel like it's keeping the focus on the female aspect of it would probably be better if I was making a choice there. But yeah, I just okay, just lower. Okay, cool. Well, she's got a very diverse voice. I thought that was a guy's voice. So just goes to show, I mean, I got a crazy like high head voice, and people can't believe that a guy can sing as high as I can sometimes. So you can't judge a book by its cover, right? I think, yeah, maybe it could be confused with a guy's voice. So I don't know. I think stuff like that too, you could just, even if you just tucked it away a little bit more, it wouldn't be as noticeable. It might be a nice touch to just give a little bit of weight to the vocal. I think that's kind of your intention with it anyways. It wasn't necessarily a part per se, was it? More just kind of give the vocal a little bit more weight. Oh, okay. Yeah. Other things you can do too, you can like hard filter. If it feels like too much of the low end's going through, you can just like literally just scoop out a bunch of the low until it feels like it blends well without like kind of sticking out. Is something I'll do a lot of the time if I want something to just kind of add a little bit of weight to the vocal. But hey man, I think that this is like once again, it's just like we're all like some saturation. Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. Saturation is your friend when it comes to like getting like a texture without getting too much of the weight of it. Sometimes you don't have to push it up as much in the mix and muddy up the frequencies so much. If you have a little bit of saturation, then you get a little bit of the actual weight of the vocal, and it actually pokes through without having to turn it up too much and then mess up other parts of your mix. Especially with vocal stuff, that's how you can really get vocals to pop. So yeah, man, it's a cool vibe. I agree too. Like, the vibe of it, the overall vibe is like a cool vibe, and it's just a matter of like, just continue to dial in like I think finding the relationship between the track and the vocal is just so key. It's so crucial. And I'm not sure that it's really like hitting its potential here. And I think some of that has to do with like I was saying earlier, just some of the vocals feel like they're a little, I think it's good to do some stuff that's like a little like unfocused, and certainly you hear examples all the time of people breaking the rules. But I think for the most part, like you definitely don't want stuff like flamming like really a lot, especially like in anything that's like really sibilant, like the end consonants and stuff like that. You kind of want to tighten that stuff up because it's something I certainly notice, and I'm cleaning it up constantly when I'm producing stuff. I just know it's part of what people expect from like a professionally edited vocal. So, and for the most part, there's exceptions to every rule. But yeah, thanks for sharing the track. I'm gonna do even though I know I spent a little bit more time on that one than I'm sorry. You know, sometimes it's like I start talking about these things and it's like I feel like it's valuable to everybody. I try to get through so many of these songs. I wish I could get through every single one every week. But hopefully you're all appreciating the depth that we're going into with this stuff, because like I feel like it's important. Like, you know, if I glossed over it, we might miss some of the important, like the gold in it. So, but I am going to, it's Josh BN. I'm going to copy his info for you. And, yeah, so everybody will be able to find everybody. Josh is a producer as well. If you like his stylings, hit him up. Yeah, so we're gonna do one more song here, and then we're gonna call it a day. I'm gonna give a bonus listen here. All right, Anthony Juarez. Let's give you a spin. Let's see if you got any other. Oh, you only got one track in here. Okay, it looks like it was in Spotify. All right, let's give it a spin. Let's see if it opens. Hopefully it opens. Okay, California.
1, 2, 3.
Hang on a sec. Looked like it auto-played there. Okay, let's share it. The list, Patrice, is going to be shared with the replay. And here, if you want, you can really quickly just copy and paste this if you want. Oh, hang on a sec. Just trying to do it privately. Here you go. Okay, so this is California.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So the production, I dig like a lot of the arrangement, the choice of the production elements and stuff. It's a nice build, nice instrumental there. As far as like the choices of the elements that come together. I dig the top line. I think the top line's cool. It kind of has a nice lift to it. I like some of the lyrics. I really like that. Think of all the stars we could see. It's like just the way in which the song relates is very conversational. But it's not stale and cliche. The way in which it's approaching the subject matter. I feel it's nice, and the lyrics are good. And I'm a pretty big stickler when it comes to them. So nice job there. As far as I feel like the intro's too long. Like asking somebody to sit for 22 seconds is like not something that typically works nowadays. The drums I just feel like production wise, there's some timing issues. The drums feel a little stiff and off in places. The AC in particular, the acoustic guitar, I like the sound of it. It feels a little hair like electric acoustic, but it's not bad. I feel like the one thing about the acoustic is like the performance of it kind of gets sloppy as everything kind of gets in. And then maybe in the mix, it's just a little too hot and then it just draws attention to itself. Part of the thing about acoustic that can be tricky is that if you have it too hot in a mix, then you kind of hear all the kind of inconsistencies with it. And as with any like acoustic instrument, it's stringed acoustic instrument, it's hard to get like a perfect performance. So you kind of want to make sure in your mix that you're not unnecessarily drawing attention to it and placing it more prominently in the mix than it should be. It's like at any given moment in a mix, it's part of the trick of mixing is like deciding which stuff is the most important things. What's the core of what it is that you're trying to relate at any given moment. And I would argue that the acoustic guitar is much less important once the drums and the bass kick in, and could be like much lessened in the mix. I know this song is like released and everything like that, but I just think for future stuff, you want to pay a little more attention with that when it comes to the mix on it. And then, other than that, I feel like that's pretty much it for that one. I feel like it's a song like this, with a couple like more modern tweaks with it, could certainly be like licensable there's so many TV shows that are set in California. So I think there's a place for a track like this if it was done right. I do like the lyrics in the top line quite a bit. I think it's great. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. This has been so fun. I wish I could sit here for another like 3 hours and get through everybody's songs. I think we would still only get through about a third of the list. Thanks for all your patience with this. Doing the best I can to get through all the lists, and just, it's a good learning experience for everybody, regardless of whether your song gets played or not. Just always remember that even if we're bringing a guest expert on, we just have very little time to even share songs with them. But if we do, it's like, it's a cool thing. I would also just suggest, this is just a suggestion, that if you have already had a song listened to maybe give somebody else another chance to have a song listened to before putting another song in. I just think it's going to be a thing where we're always going to have like probably about 150 songs on the list. It's looking like so far. So anyway, if you feel like being generous and allowing somebody else to get a song in before you, it's always appreciated by people, I'm sure. So, and I'm always trying to like do the best I can to have an open floor that's where we get everybody a fair chance to have a song listened to. So that's all I got to say. Thanks for sharing all your gifts and all your talents with me and with Kathy, and we're watching, even if we don't get to your song this week, we see the activity that's going on in the group. We're really excited. In all the groups, we're very excited about like just where things are going with everybody. And it's just so encouraging too, to see the people that have been with us for a little while. You'll see, I mean, some of the people that we played today, producers that are available to work with potentially. So hit them up if you want to maybe collab with them. And I highly encourage it. And it's all part of like this whole beautiful thing we get to do, where we're in the sync industry and we're building relationships. The most important relationships that you can build are the ones that are right sitting next to you right here on this call. So never forget that, and take it to heart, and look forward to next time. All right, I'll see you next time. Have a good day.